Good morning, Chair. This is roll call for Resources Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council, regular meeting on Wednesday, September 1st, 2021 at 10 a.m. Honorable Rick Nez.
Delegate Rick Nez is present.
Honorable Rick Nez is present. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr.
I am present. Thank you.
Honorable Walker is present. Honorable Key Allen Begay. Honorable Key Allen Begay. Honorable Herman M. Daniels. Honorable Herman M. Daniels. Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Honorable Wilson Stewart Jr. Honorable Wilson Stewart Jr. Chair, you have two members that qualified as present, but I do see Herman Daniels on the call. I'm not sure if he's having difficulty.
Freeland's on the call. Sorry.
Mark Freeland is present.
Yes.
Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Honorable Herman M. Daniels.
Mr. Chair, I'm here. I'm present. Forgot to unmute myself.
Honorable Herman M. Daniels is present. Honorable Wilson Stewart Jr. Honorable Wilson Stewart Jr. Chair, you have 4 members present, which qualifies for a quorum. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Thank you, honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee. I would like to encourage everyone to stay on the call with us for a quorum. I'm having internet issues. It's very cloudy here, and I'm sure it's like that in Window Rock as well. So we call this meeting to order at 10:07. Mr. Tahi did the roll call, and I'll go ahead and do the prayer. And I don't honor what is including staff. God. Navajo ara hunlo na honetsen. Tolero yon eden hidigen lene. Tahosi tlento honzaten hios cotton a creature in the hand saboshi. Benan hentkenle. And the tahoro. Inchet soradil zentle. Inchilchaho iholonitsen. And the Nahaji na patnits and oh Nahahans and oh yon and the Benin. Orange jot ba a date not so deals and do yon it era nehdigan lane. Asha need kinago at the ahonate and she hunchta at the hunstan isiko, but oh nehden shleko. Na sisse nonstantly. Heileban na hot in this case in Sunday. Heileban na hot hasti in Sunday. Arona nisti. Alla schönst nonstantly. A sisse. Hans Saboshi, and here honits in eben nach koro. At the under can link that seals go. Nehin hat in all the hot in a benhik chistle, Hodat ehegi penachin sea case. Enda in a can hanadi asla corona chanadika. Yet ehon hin sick case. Niche Korobe, Enit Edo Les, Ashhorn, Hilhon Hidigan Lane, Doyonit Eda, Naharahaske. Ashhorn and Hintin, Ila Orlia, Yo, Job Button Lane. Bechana Nate Legon, Harchinye, Nahahun Zango, Besto, in a Shensuda Kesto in Naye, Nasta I hear Jahan Lido Les. Although, Bahujora, Past Question. Bain Hicketchet Lege, Hot and the Sashin, the hot answer that Kesta. A late out of Hicketchet Lady, like a late out the arcade and Eroshahajo, bow and she done something. The between Lorobaj up bar. Jada been sick case be hundle, yet eho. Big etchet leader late hitting and leaning. And the time, he dash can lego. The sheet ego. Not unlinishing coron hidden napa. Not any long. Nahara just low a corot and ebandale anla. Corona had unlinishing. What's the old gabe hissing up a nation sea case or yelled hito. The Navajo bad il Nathan. Now can't had it. Pero Nahat Agi Naha. It is just over the Kahadon Nathan laid out on and ago. Nin Hidigan, ne Erholson. Yada Skilby go, and Janago Hadot is Yadot is Corsendal Dossa. Here another husky that the chief. And the not ill letter, and Janago. Well, no, sir. The husky go da. Although, you won't aid and Hidigan Laney. Alt one had and la. Nahassan that the young Ash Hadish lad no. None hint zad bigeto zad digini. And the Nashko hot out Aaron hit and Ninigi of a none hint hin. Ala at the hot at Ishte con. Nathan Naila for on zad bige. 2 Timothy chapter 3 bigeto. Behind the hot Aaron then Nigi con. The Naholia like at Bench Kala. And then no Helene again Lane. Wait, Ashin, Ronasco, Ahodi Lissigi. A job by needs and hidden a job by inson. And the city in Hidigan. One tail Benson's not set out in Lanal Gloucester. And that a shot as large on that city the hadden la. Even national Nico Ron job by needs and Oyonit era and I yells. And the hot a hush the natural George Han see case go ye cutandla. Ashhorn he cutandle a creature. Nan shigi hashed era deals nicht. And that the hidden but deals and but I had your bound that Kasha. We don't sign that bad a yard in the house. Or she must have stayed the hard lashik a yashi danza. Hard lashin she danza. As she is in the house, Thomas in the Haint no. As she it's and that is still Pachadan is good. As she a wall yard in the house. That's he been in a better Carl in Nashian to the case of Hundla in agent and I had it all cotton later. And then here's it and then Hubbard Hundla on his last order. Then Adam Lenny the Horo, President Nares, Vice President Liza, Speaker Damon, Arabish Mahasana Arts. Partners Nildan Leni are not Anidan Leniga Habaswanla. Nahanda Nashigate on Habaswanla Shora, yet a corrode never Washington. The Bini Lige Goro, Nashi, Cotton Lado Lit, Aro teaching, Conshin, Asani plenigi not asked Eddie Lithon Hilton Lash or the Hunt Second Job Body. Jesus Christ, Amen. And I say, Kodo announcements again, but you're not the cotton leader list. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any announcements? Ms.
Mr.
Begay?
Chair, Delegate Daniels.
Honorable Daniels?
Thank you, Kodo. Chairman Nance, Kodo, thank you for the invocation, Kodo, and Junia, Kodo. Kodo, Anani, let's Kodo. But Kodo, Nagata, today I won't be able to go to Lupton. Nagata, undergo Nagata, Vice Chair Smith, the area go. At the level on the bridge. I won't be able to make it there today. But today I'm gonna be having a meeting with economic development, Division of Economic Development, and also Navajo Land Department, and others. At 1 p.m. Agenda it only spells the door. I don't know, maybe down the road, she RDC, she she could on I want that they cut and to meet with the owners, so could on the purchase again. So thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable members of RDC, any other announcements?
Chairman.
Honorable Freeland?
Chairman, good morning. Colleagues, staff, Chairman, thank you for that prayer. Shana, thank you very much. I have a heavy equipment delivery today at noon. I want to thank Division Community Development and CAI chapter for working to get this heavy equipment into the community today. So as soon as that's completed, I'll run towards Lupton, make my way that way for the bridge. I think it's real important that we support our brother and support our younger brother too for what he did and how he assisted Lupton chapter within his agency. So I'm going to head that way as soon as I get the heavy equipment delivered to TAI chapter. But also I wanted to request maybe for an internal call regarding our 638 contracts with under Division Natural Resources. I do have a legislation today, but I'm going to ask for that legislation to be deferred to the next meeting, which I believe is going to be on September 19th. We need to add some additional language to it through an amendment possibly. But we need to have this call really with the 638 contracts related to Division Natural Resources. It's real important that we talk about this internally before we talk to the BIH. So I just want to make those announcements, colleagues, chairman, and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable members of RDC, any other announcements? None? None. I'm going to be leaving here at 11:30 from the house and head to Lupton, to go over and support our little brother, Honorable Stewart, Vice Chair Smith. RDC had final authority over that legislation, so I'd like to see that bridge dedication ceremony. So 11:30, just for your information. And thank you, Honorable Freeland, for deferring the legislation to the next meeting. So we'll just have reports this morning. If there's no other announcements, Ms. Begay, do you have any announcements, or Mr. Tahi?
Mr. Chair, just a reminder that on Friday you have the NABI budget hearing. And also next week, beginning the 7th through the 10th, the nomination council will be deliberating on the FY22 budget for the nomination. And then on the 13th, RDC has a leadership meeting with the Eastern Land Board, BIA and BLM, which Rodney is working on setting up The meeting with the Navajo Oil and Gas, that is on the 14th, and that's already been set up, and I think we're prepared to send out copies of the agenda to you. And the 16th and 17th is the work session with the Water Rights Commission. Again, because of the meeting rules, CDC meeting rules, this will be an in-person meeting at the Navajo Nation Museum, but there will be limited numbers of participants. And so just keep that in mind. Chairman Naz, back to you.
Thank you. Mr. Tahi?
The Honorable Chair, I have no announcements. Ms. Begay went over all of the schedule for the next 2 weeks. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. If there's no other announcements, we'll go to recognizing guests and visiting officials. Introductions for all. We'll start with the honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee. And did I hear someone? We'll
yes,
start
Mr. Chair. This is Delegate
who's
Daniel.
this? Honorable Daniels,
Daniel.
go ahead.
Yes, again, Ken Kojonagata put in a schedule. Kienta, I see the Yaki Hospital today. Other Kodonagata tomorrow, one of my chapters, Nagata, Ken chapter, they're going to be receiving their backhoe, dump truck, and trailer. Ishing at the backhoe, she have costs at the ship. The net or let's go. I don't know after the 2-hour training. She a day later. Let's go. I see by here. Let's go down. Yeah, go even as let's go down. Go my brother. Go down. Delegate Freeland. Go down. Yeah, go down. Go down. Then go down. Yeah, go down. But the sheet. Let's 24th council. Go down. Yeah, I said. Oh yeah, but they need to show in the RDC. Go down. Yeah, go. Yeah, go in the jail. Go down at the chapter level. Go down. So thank you, Eddie. At the Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. I understand that you're going to be having a meeting today at Golden's. Honorable Freeland for his heavy equipment delivery. But I would encourage my colleagues to stay on the call, and if you have to climb somewhere to get reception, please do so. We would like to keep a quorum and get our business done as soon as possible. Thank you, Sanand. Introductions, Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, Chairman, thank you for the floor. Other committee members, Junanta, staff, Handa, Nishiki, North Special, Ako, Ado, Agido, each Research Development Committee meetings, North Koyat, Judini, Dodit, we are city to 20 Headling, Ko. Nana Hassan do Tekoha gate a person the Bedaboche Abskatahuis, Ibanashako. Nothing David was and the Hanachacho. Jabatanashta, other project Resource and Development Committee, Ada, Aketa Stagi, Shedilia, Quiskanation, Abahens and Ocean. I don't mention she hints. And the people told me is that what's on the issue that Chadishki National without the Nancy Kuyat, Hinani Kragish and chair Nanigate the way Lapton de other let Nan Sto Ben Hota ribbon cutting ceremony for opening the new bridge for that community. I caught on Shin could echo and addition Azor and get that so the colloid. Oh, yeah, at Synchronan Shadelia that the reports so Shinan a daily negi dot hated the eat and the judo way that Nahanahot Aniki caught on Shin. I could chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Our colleague from Many Farms, Arizona.
Chairman Kiawan.
Introduction.
Oh, okay. Yate. Pados deje hanani national ki ani dashajabat ani dashachara de shini dashanale. Lomaun touchy gap talani kanwit nazi in the mini farms at I chapter bahashin. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Should edge Herman Daniels Jr. I don't know any bit any son of us is seen has got broad as another. So he had leaning not paid the night that should shake off the rate I'll jet towards I think cannot be funny but not. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, colleagues, staff, everyone on this call, good morning. Yate Bene, Otto, Sinatai, Shay Mark Freeland, Nishiero Doslanigi Tutsoni, Snowdok Kia, Ani, Asia, Sanja Kene Dashache, I don't turn up that's the another. Crown Point A, it's also called Asin, a shop from the Crown Point area. I have 8 chapters out of Eastern Navajo Agency. I also have 23 others that I represent on RDC, so I'm the Eastern representative. The chapters that I have, 8 chapters, Crown Point, Nahadishkish, I have the Senti, White Rock, Lake Valley, Herfano, and Nayeze. Good morning to one and all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart.
Good morning, Shania. Shania Kedo, Shajayajedo, Shamayajake, Ado staff, and Lingi this morning. Ado is not Agi for our Resource Development Committee meeting this morning. Good morning, everybody. Ado Shania, thank you for the prayer this morning. And then thank the Lord for the moisture, our deities for the moisture, blessing our homes, our crops, our animals, livestock, and the wildlife as well with this moisture. And our Mother Nature as well. So thank you for that. And then Shaya Wilson, C. Stewart Jr. A and Shia. So that Nasha. No Aquadon Hijang this morning until I head out to Lupton later on this afternoon. Twits on the A and Shle, Nanish Edgecatchin, a Bashas Chin, touching the shade, Doppy between the Chanella. So back at cheat once he cheated the Bishman's and I represent for Defiance Agency on the Resource Development Committee. Consortium, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Chair Rick Nazin, she has son and slow, Zay Kachini, Bashas Chain, some habit in Dash Chado, Kia Ani Dashanada. San one chapter in the Hash Atoe, Nashakado, has cargo chapters, Bonash, Nishigate, Sadak, Ondo. Kuro Chesant Manik and the Bedent Neto Ado Nina Neza do a East Chosaka dot East Nishkish de Banashnish. The Shah Arnold Scotty Benacoro and Hetronot Sanigi. Let me go to RDC staff, Ms. Begay.
Good morning, Chair. Shami Begayan, Ado, the Resource Development Committee Advisor. Na Kaiden and Sean de Betlishan, Bashish Chain to mind, Ada Shiche, Kachini, Ada Chanelo, Da San and Shenley, Ni G down, Ada Onasha. Ado, I just want to reiterate what Chairman Naz said, that we need everyone to be on the call for RDC meeting because it's so important. Many of these issues are topics that you request to be placed on the agenda. Although, according to Title II, your Resource Development Committee regular meeting is should be a priority, and it's set by law for us to meet every Wednesday, and that should be a priority for all of us to make sure that we take care of our committee business. Back to you, Chairman Nez.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Ms. Woody?
Good morning, Chair. RDC members and London Hiro good morning. I know what I is not I don't yet a benishe actually so woody she had all legislative assisted ancient or RDC because steamboat they go here they go arena sha Kapahan the Belgian Bash Chinky on it as she dots and a generational what I astonished little I not he had he need or late I don't journal Hatsadins and chair he had I don't journal here that do art gone.
Thank you, Ms. Woody. Mr. Tahi.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members of Resources and Development Committee. My name is Rodney Tahi. I'm Kiani and Senja Kenneth. I'm originally from Steamboat, Arizona. And good morning to everyone on this call. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Ms. Khan.
Oh, Yat Ed and Eshik A. Yat E Resources and Development Committee members da Noshinigi Ado Yat Eda Isi Notsagi. Most importantly, a Hehet and Sago Shiaj, so the Zimbehensi a Henele, very important. She Mariana Khan da Shijane Dona and the Shinigi A Toihedlini Nishle. But Annie Bush's chin, last year, dash a shade, Sandra Kenna, dash another. Good morning, one and all. Thank you very much, and I will go on mute now.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Do we have anyone, any of our colleagues on the call, 24th Nomination Council? None. Let's go to Speaker's Office, Ms. Yako.
Good morning, Chairman Nez and members of the Resources and Development Committee. Ayat Ehebene, Sheya Melinda Arviso, Siaku and Shiedo, Sitna Jilin Shlanki, Ani Bashichin, the Twitchini Dashichedo, Dashini Dashanale, Legislative Staff Assistant for Speaker Damon here in Winter Rock, Arizona. Thank you for having us on the call.
Thank you, Ms. Yako. Mr. Halona. Press *6.
Yat Aikman, Chairman Nez, Alice Vice Chair Walker, Honorable Delegate, Shadow, Sille, She Mike Halona decision, and late for Hatchin or Yedago. But uninstalled, she was just chain home and that's another key on it. That Nensland, he could never care about how young it up the destination on the shop there. Chairman Nez, I say, it's zero. What's it in? Because the Tron cannot be shut all the water at the
Thank you, Mr. Halona. Mr. Dave Zeller. Mr. Zeller. Mr. Lionel Haskey.
This is Dave Zeller, Navajo Ag Products Industry CEO. Thank you for allowing us to speak today.
Chairman Ottoso.
Yeah, Tishanant, good morning. Auto staff for the RDC committee. I did not my Kelowna hear your voice check. I did auto so it is now quite natural here clean and she just come back but she look at net as she don't not Jenny the then she did autonomous today the basement unsnow that home but had the shot for about here the Kodoya
Thank you, Honorable So. Anybody else on the call that wishes to introduce themselves? None? Thank you. Mr. Tahi, could you read the agenda to us, sir?
Chair, the agenda reads as Resources and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council, regular meeting Wednesday, September 1st, 2021 at 10 a.m. Presiding is Honorable Rick Nez, Chairperson, Honorable Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson. Location is by telecommunications. Number 1, call the meeting to order, roll call, invocation, and announcements. Number 2, recognizing guests and visiting officials. Number 3, review and approve the agenda. Number 4, reviewing and approving the journals, August 25th, 2021. Number 5, receiving reports. A, update report, Tuba City NNLD home site lease office and staff work environment. Presenters, Mike Colonna, Executive Director. B, update report, NAPI operational activities. Presenter, David Zeller, CEO, NAPI. Number 6, old business, none. Number 7, new business. A, legislation number 0175-21, an action relating to the Resource and Development Committee, Budget and Finance Committee, and Navigate Committee approving and authorizing a contract between the Navajo Nation and the United States Department of the Interior under 25 U.S.C. Section 5301 ET Public Law 93-638 as amended, for a 5-year term for the Division of Natural Resources, Environmental, Agriculturally Services Non-Roads Program, approving and authorizing the fiscal year annual funding agreement and the scope of work for the period of the contract term. Sponsor, Honorable Mark A. Freeland. B, approving to reschedule the 2-day work session with DCD, ASC, OAG, OOC, NNDOJ, and ONGD to have a further discussion on the chapter official stipend, restricted funds, and other related issues at Twin Arrows Casino Resort in Arizona. 8, close the meeting, announcement, and adjournment. Chair, that's the agenda for today. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahe. Honorable members of RDC, I'd like to establish a motion and a second.
Chairman Keelan.
Honorable Begay, motion, second by
Second motion, Freeland.
Honorable Freeland. Any questions or comments? Honorable members of RDC, Honorable
Chairman.
Freeland requested to have his legislation 0175-21 be deferred to the next RDC meeting. So, Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. I want to go ahead and motion to defer that if I need to at this time. Thank you.
What we'll do is we'll just ask for modification to Honorable Keelan Begay. Do you concur to remove legislation 0175-21 requested by Honorable Freeland?
Yeah, concur, Keelan.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
No, Chairman, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions on the agenda? None? We'll go ahead and vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote, sir?
I vote green. Thank you.
Honorable Keelan Begay Jr.,
Chairman Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels,
Green.
Honorable Freeland,
Green.
Honorable Stewart.
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you. Number 4 on the agenda, reviewing and approving journals from August 25th, 2021. Let's establish a motion, honorable colleagues.
Freeland.
Motion, Honorable Freeland. Second by
Stewart?
Honorable Stewart. Thank you. Any comments or questions on the journal?
Chairman,
Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, thank you, Chairman, staff, everyone on this call, Nani. Just want to say thank you to the staff, Ms. Woody and Ms. Begay, particularly for getting these journals. I think we, as a committee, we appreciate everything that you all do. These journals are very important, so just wanted to mention that and say thank you to Ms. Woody and her team. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Any other comments or questions? None. We'll put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Chairman, I vote green. Thank you.
Honorable Kealan Begay.
Chairman Kealan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Honorable Freeland.
Green.
Honorable Stewart.
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Number 5 on the agenda, receiving reports. Update report. Yuba City Navajo Nation Land Department Home Site Lease Office and Staff Work Environment. Presenter, Mr. Mike Halona, Executive Director, Navajo Nation Land Department. Mr. Halona, you have 20 minutes to present, sir.
Kushina, can you hear me okay?
Yes, you may proceed.
Okay. Hakushin, Adoya Nanate, they've been honorable delegates, Resource Development Committee, and all the guest colleagues that are on the phone this morning. Appreciate this opportunity to provide information to the committee. I'm assuming that there are probably calls from constituents that the office is closed in Tuba City. So let me go back and just talk a little bit about not only the focus shouldn't only be Tuba City, but all our agency offices. Look at the condition and Chinle Agency. They're all these different little programs are all bunched together in a little teeny building there next to the chapter. You go to Shiprock and you have an old parts business building that's been converted to a tribal office complex. And you have not only land department, prosecutors, aging, EPA, and numerous other departments, all sharing that small building with dilapidated roof. They have mice problems and all of these situations. And then you look at Eastern Agency. We're able to move out of a dilapidated mobile home that was converted into an office. So over the years, we've just been moving into, I guess, hand-me-downs, so to speak. And so that's been a challenge for all of our agency offices. And I think the solution and the recommendation is to build Navajo Nation Government Office Complex in each agency. So all the offices will all be in one location and of course, in the new updated facilities. So I just want to mind that. So let's go back to Tuba City. And Delegate So probably understands that more than I do because he was working with the land department when it was at Gray Hills High School building. And at some point, everybody was asked to vacate and move elsewhere. So we looked all over trying to find another location immediately. We tried to move into BIA compound, BIA building. And so finally, the old correctional facilities that was a temporary location when they closed the correctional facilities over in Tuba City.
Yihan now, that's still sitting there, the old detention area. And those were also old module office buildings that are mobile homes. So we were able to get one of those to move into while we were working on trying to establish a permanent location. Again, lack of money is probably one of the biggest things budget-wise. And so at that time, we started temporarily working on it, and then worked with Delegate So, and we were trying to get funding to get a new module building, such as Law and Order has there in Window Rock. Developed for business, and that has all the room that we're going to need. And we weren't able to ever secure the funding to do that. Also, the land department has for several years in its master plan identified teams from within the department to start looking at alternative office locations, alternative sites that we could withdraw and have lands available in the event money becomes available for us to get a building. When the government entities back in the several years ago had a building that they could donate to the nation, and we were going to move that to Tuba City, but we were trying to find a location to put that building at. So that never happened. So since then, we've been working on it. And in 2018, as Delegate Freeland will probably is aware of, he sponsored our corrective action plan to an audit, findings that all people are working in dilapidated property, Navajo Nation property. And so at that time, I wrote a memo to the safety office, to facility maintenance, to come in and see if what renovation can be done. And then at the time, we had a supervisor for home site that was assigned that in the corrective action plan in the audit. Yabachan. Assigned it, so that was assigned to them. So as 2018, 2019, nothing was happening. So I started working with the chapter and asked the chapter if they had anything up there in their compounder's office. And I started, and then they said, we can start working on renovating one of the buildings. We want to renovate the whole thing. And then that will be available for the land department, he thought. So they started working on that. Well, in the meantime, we're kind of waiting over here. And then COVID hit. So everybody was working from home. And then staff went back into the building probably back in July 13th, I believe, due to the need for home site leases to be processed. So meantime, we're waiting on the building at the chapter. Out of COVID, the operation went back to work. Everybody, the nation came back out of the shelter at home back into the buildings, and Tuba City chapter started working on the renovation again. They picked it up again. So we kept conversing back and forth. How far are we? Well, now we're going to have to get a whole new AVAC system. So there had to be ordered. We're waiting on that. And finally that was done. And then there's other areas that they needed to work on. So all this time we've been waiting out of COVID. I said, okay. Then they said, well, come over, do an inspection. We'll do a walkthrough, and then we'll get a certification of occupancy. So we started working on that. And then in that meantime, of course, a new administration came in, and then things kind of changed, because before it was going to be in kind.
we need the land department next to the chapter to service the people and to work with us in our plans for the community with land withdrawals and having access to that information. No. But when it was done and completed, of course, then they said, well, the chapter wants to get paid. They want to charge a rental. And then, so that came about in during this after the pandemic. I stopped there on a Monday on my way to Page to meet with some solar companies at La Chi chapter. The following day, I guess OSHA received a request from the Tuba City office, and of course they said we're in this situation, we need to, and I think there's mold, and I know every office probably has mold, and so OSHA went and did an inspection, and they had their findings, and then they contacted the executive director, and then finally the executive director, Dr. Shabala, says, did you know that they have this notice? And I says, no, I haven't been told anything. Nobody has contacted me. Nobody has said anything. And so we looked at the findings and everything else, and I got back to the chapter, and I says, we need to move right away. And they said, well, we need to have this rental. And I said, in our FY21 budget, we don't have anything. So we had a meeting again in Winter Rock with Dr. Shabala, with Delegate So, and I just said, we closed the office building down. We're going to have a company come in, an environmental company come in and do an inspection, do the testing as to the level of it. Meantime, the staff were told, work from home, go to the hospital, get your workman's comp done, file all your reports. So we're still waiting on all that information so I can make a response to OSHA, Navajo Nation OSHA. Also asked for a listing of all the requests for services to facility maintenance for all the repairs that are all the deficiencies. How many times did we report it? What days are we? Need all that information because that needs to go into the report to show that we have been trying to address the situation. So we had to respond to OSHA. We had to address the employee situation. At the same time, try to keep operations going and find a new location. So at that meeting is when Delegate So says, you know, the Navajo Hopi relocation office is just sitting there. They had one person, but they've been reassigned to Wonder Rock. Talked to Robert Black. So we had a meeting with Robert Black, and he says, yeah, I don't see anybody going back into that building in the near future. And it's sitting there, and you're able to use it. And so I had the staff do an inspection on the location at the Tuba City chapter house, the building at Navajo Hopi relocation. And I said, you guys decide what will work for you. You're going to be working in it. You decide which location. So they went and did their inspection. Mr. Robert Black met him, and his staff met him in Tuba City. And the staff says, we want the Navajo Hopi relocation building because we're going to get the whole building. At that chapter, they're only offering us half a building. So we met with Robert Black again. He said, these are deficiencies. They re-leveled it. Everything's ready to go. But the roof needs to be repaired because they had to separate the building when they re-leveled the whole building. And there's the deficiencies in the roof that need to be repaired. That request has been made. The doors got to be redone so it opens inside and not outwise. They got the whole new phone system, so those changes need to be made. The internet. So that's what we've been working on up to now. And staff emailed me yesterday that all the requests have gone into telecommunications and utility department. Ms. Pearl Lee, all the requests are gone in. We're waiting. We've also met with facility maintenance, who went and got the environmental firm that came in, did the inspection on the last one. OSHA did explain to us that the decontamination won't be at a high level of decontamination of moving stuff out of the old building. You just need to air wash it. So that means take it outside and dust them off, blow them off, and they're good with that. So we've made arrangements with water resources to use their compressor. And also we've again working with Pearl Lee to get the utilities and the land department's name, our account number. The copier for records the memo has gone in. The phones and changing the phone numbers and the inside. The internet staff is looking at the floor plan for the inside, how it's going to be wired. And that request has gone into Pearl to provide internet to the building. So a lot has happened into making the adjustments. We're working as fast as we can on our side. It's just working with everybody from the facility maintenance to the telecom utility department to try to get everything done. Staff have, in the last week, have been moving all of the records, and they came to Winter Rock 2 weeks ago and picked up all of the new desk, new chairs that we had surplus at the office in Winter Rock. So they're getting all that new stuff into the new building. They're going to go through the old stuff and then return a lot of it to property. And so on last week, they went to Home Depot and Flagstaff and picked up all of their COVID PPE, Pepsi glass barriers for the front of the desk, all of that. So all that's been ordered and they picked it up. So that's where we are, honorable delegates, is that we should be back in operation as soon as we get the phone lines turned on and the internet back on and all the files into that building moved in. So, they'll be back open. The agreements with Navajo Hopi is being formulated. I think Mr. Black wanted to talk to me yesterday, but I was going into another meeting, so we didn't get to speak. But they've been very helpful, very understanding. Delegate So is also working on more permanent facilities for not only the land department, but for Navajo Nation offices in Tuba City. So he's got a plan that we're working with him to be able to make that happen for the community and Western Agency. So that concludes my report up to today.
Thank you, Mr. Holona, for your report. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Chair, I motion.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Second, Daniels.
Honorable Daniels, thank you. Shananda, before we go to comments and questions, just be very careful, Shananda. Let's refrain from any personnel issues. So the floor is open if you wish to comment or question. Nanda.
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Daniel.
Honorable Daniels, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. his staff so kodo yeah ado kodo da my brother kodo da Mr. Halona kodo ni husbands now. Thank you for updating us on where everything is at with all the Navajo Land Department offices. Adonana with Western Kodo Hashing Koban Husbands Nekodo. So AIC Kodo Yehil Nekodo. Adonana Kodo Ayego and Hoti. The not the Snenigi. The Trajdaga a Hoshba husband. Hoshba husband about Hosens Zentle. I called up and the not the Snengi added her Tradi Yado Hayset Donana staff Kodo and the them how they're working again. Eight about when they meet or AIC Kodo them Hashin so about when Sankat. Coven Nashiko and now take on Nash 8 Yego. I called Sazando his staff and again later in Niste. I see them had to yin dal Mr. I see Adonana Quado Nagay with office space Nenegi. I see he can't drop by in the I see but that in nation that though I see though I see things that are Halanaho. So Nagay at the local level. But Adonana Quado they're not accepting applications. So they basically because there's no office space. Adonana Quade 80 Nequid ARPA funds Nagan de Quade. Adonana Quade Nagadam Hawan. Throughout the Navajo Nation families, they don't have electricity, water, but the old it don't lost it, but they need home site leases. So ban first case we could ban first case or could the home site leases get or net on date. People are getting frustrated at quite the whole just applicants in Lenigate or that chicken. There's some applications at one of the chapters that I represent. The Quishita, there's like close to 50 applications. The chapter administration the submit. Land department. They don't have office space. I don't doubt that the don't Asian Hansa case or so. So even Nashiko Kodo. Khalid at Kishiko. The Kodo office space, he should Bashadi dot a class showed Abbey Ban, that's case ago. I don't know the rate at when the rate at Tagahot Sunday or Chon, when Kazuko in Hanahata or Chon at that because cousin Hick is a day or yes, and his desk on Nahata. While our employees at the local level, or Chon that they stood on Nahata. I don't know that the internet services data then. So they have to go to a coffee shop place where there's internet. They can only sit there for they still had legend. But it is a year machine Ecuador. I don't know Khalita at Kinsico office space. What should they do? That should they do it or did. But I knew what I say but in nation there. Not of course, I'm legislation chapter not is shark legislation 0113-21. NTUA with electricity power line. I don't know the water line. But in order for these families to get these services, they need home site leases. Alida at Kisodo Lesson Soko. Elab Eva Batna Jota Ivan Zasket Kodoven his horn. What end the Kodo Benna and Neso. I think that's the least out and some about Bantas case was a so, but Kodo Atibashin are employees at the local level. So they what Ecuador, Aronana Ecuador, Ashini, what Enagada, chain of command, the Hallo and the Batanagada, staff, and Neniki, and Nashiko, Eben Naquete, Eba Nate, Egat. Alita at Kiloba Ador, Nesa, office space, Bashude, Esla. So what I have a band, that's case of home. Aronana Ecuador needs, and people, applicants, again, they're getting frustrated. Yeah, they're getting after these employees that living with Navajo Land Department at these agency offices. Because they don't know that. I'm sure that they have a phone where people can call, but I see the applicants litigate all that. So I see, but but with an office space that niche go. So but internet I see but so it depends nowadays go better in niche go. So I think go ben does the shape of next go I don't know working closely with Mr. Black on the great Navajo Navajo Land Commission office. So the office space that had no level. I don't know go she pay state and our employees at the local level. The great mold or the geheki go yenas as a year bashin go as ego ya khana lo aslanat a quake bashin stokado hard than hits and I do astona kodo hard bananil $10 it bansanda. So that I see Codona Zel and that and then the because of Mo AIC passion just as then though according to the human life is set by passion so a hotel come according shot out largest chain that all hashing held chain yet all it was on his day God hard la halchen so that touch the gash so a day yakodo several years back, old Jato chapter. When I was chapter president, one day I went into that chapter building, and I smelled mold just chow. I went back out. Let's close this chapter house. They made a call. So to this day, there's no chapter house at the old Jato chapter. Even that's go with all Tanaf. So it ego it's easy. The more get glad. I don't know other uranium that. So but has he a banate at the Ecuador solution and I'm slinky Ecuador and great I see Ecuador. But Stephen now the Ecuador are employees at the local level. So Ecuador Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Mr. Halona, your response, sir? Mr. Halona?
Yeah, no, Chair. Auto members, Resource Development Committee. According to the any buildings, all the offices, every tribal office probably that's been occupied since the 80s is probably in the same situation. Like the president's office, look at the Division of Natural Resource. Land Department was in that building when I got there, 2005. 2016 down, 2015 down in the auto chitani na ibaya das kigi mo ventilation. So that whole building's been, if you've been there recently, it's all been renovated. We had radiator heating. Some of you or BIA Remember those radiators from steam? That's what we were operating. We had one of the ones blow up in one of the rooms and melted everything in that building and in that room. So I understand all the situations that can result. That was an extreme level. When we moved out of that building, every page had to be wiped through 3 times to go out to the end. At the end, we had a private firm doing testing. If they found a trace that goes back in, so I know the process, I know the procedures. That's what we're doing in Tuba City. Okay. And I'll just say that there are staff issues that I have to deal with the personnel issues I'm gonna have to deal with. And it's unfortunate, but this is a concern that's being utilized to get people to think that there is something definitely not right. So we are aware, as I mentioned, we were aware prior to. We made those instructions. What do we do then? You know, and so they have to take the initiative to do some of this stuff. And it indicate Out of workman's comp, the George had that sleep on me. What the short leaking them? This shade at Dandishne. A conda coin, if I had not did, not hot echo. Sagahot Sunday, yeah, don't he can't not just a shane. Oh, you're hot egg. So we are doing everything that we possibly can under our control. Now, we can get general services to make it a priority and start on it next week to do those facilities. Now, we've been emailing Mr. Patero. I just sent the email again this morning on services that we're requesting. We're talking to Mr. Tom Patero at that level. Okay, so if we can make them move faster, then it will happen faster. Auto from utilities, community work order, so those work orders have gone in. I don't know that's at some point they'll pull it out. How do we get them to put it in the front and say this one is an emergency? We made justifications that it's an emergency. We said we're shut down. We know that the people need services. Wonder Rock, Schindley, and Shiprock is picking up most of the slack. Okay, they're getting calls, they're getting assistance, they're needing to talk to somebody. So they're giving assistance. Shiprock has issued leases for Tuba City. It's the same lease, the same form, same requirements. It's no difference. So they are, if they contact our office, we can tell them to either scan it and get it to us, or if they want to bring it, some have drove all the way from Tuba City and dropped them off in Wonder Rock so we can process them. They can put it in the mail and we'll process it. So we have all the emails, correspondences that have been made since 2016 on those offices. So in the hot in the on later digit actually been das nicht da say it jo hat nini what even the seal nicht when zag at holish but they did not be all shishigi chances to boss had the place hat nini get it up hasn't tonan inda hot on dante nal sos email ki atan del indi tailor ti on so yana khaja so hot ni ako hot on spahazan dolish ako and ben del nestishin dos ka na te the hajla holjish dida te da osla dida te hajla nana so hat nini hot ben del nishot so we are doing everything that we can to move forward. So we can get some support from the committee, perhaps a call over to general services and say, we need all the workers in Tuba City to get that building fixed, prepared, ready for occupancy immediately. Internet. So then we're waiting. And we made the request. Now we're waiting. So we follow up with emails again. And then we sent another work order in to Pearl. Okay, we'll get on it. So we're doing what we can, and we'll continue to do what we can to speed up the process. And when people call us, we give them alternatives, we give them options. This is another way you can do it. Here's a form, we can send you the form. What's your email address? So they're stepping in to be able to make that happen. So I just want the committee to know that that it's important to us, it's serious to us, and the people's services that they deserve is the most important part. I totally agree with that, and we have the same feeling. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halona. Honorable Key Allen Begay, you're next, sir. Honorable Key Allen Begay. Press *6 to unmute. Going twice. Honorable Begay. I don't know who can unmute Honorable Begay that has control of this meeting today. He's trying to unmute. He hears us, but he's trying to unmute. And somebody help Masiako, Tahi.
Honorable Chair, I'm trying to locate Mr. Honorable Delegate Begay so I can unmute him.
Chairman Naz,
Okay.
we don't see his call on the line. Maybe he's using a different number, and so.
Okay, we'll come back to him. Honorable Otto, you're up.
Yeah, can you guys hear me first?
We could barely hear you.
Okay, let me turn up my. Alrighty, that nicht. I'm on the internet, so well, thank you very much, Mr. Halona, for your presentation related to the Tuba City Land Office and office situation there, and عشان تسقو نهوت adon the land department has been moved around from building to building for many years, and a place so that they can really operate where they're not at the mercy of other individuals to move. And but I'm glad that the conversation with Mr. Black is continuing and so forth relating to the Tuba City Land Office. I did reach out to Office of Navajo Hopi Land Commission office to see if they have any temporary office space that the land department could utilize to move forth with direct services. And I had a conversation with Mr. Shabala, and Dr. Shabala, and Mr. Mike Colonna. I really appreciate that. Number one. That's number one. Number two is that as legislature, Bishma Hasana Bez Ani Tzadana Kegot Ya Kwagan Isin Hasala Bez Ani Egedo and the Beso and the Agi. Adon the Kodo report, such as this report here, to look at how operations are moving and so forth. The executive branch. Halit ego la cheto nilo halit la tato nilo. A Congo one hinan Mr. Halona ya hadina kon hilcho na adit kid that is ado dit edit a hot edo hat in a shina adahot ad. I would just recommend to the committee that we allow the program to move forth to finish getting, doing their portion of their obligation to that office. That program is under the executive branch. You're overstepping your authority in here. Dr. Shabala, do Mr. Mike Colonna, do Ajab managers, Beda hasn't hot egg, do la do Adon with the mole issues, there's a protocol that is being followed. And that protocol is not that protocol is through OSHA and so forth, and make sure that things have to be done accordingly to policy. That executive function. In the meantime, we really need to look at a major funding for the Western Navajo Land Department office. And I did have a plan to purchase a modular building right before the COVID. So then we couldn't move forth because of there's nobody to build it and so forth. And even if I introduce legislation, someone's going to question me. You don't need it. That's not shit. Just like Honorable Daniel's legislation yesterday on NTUA to provide service for the Navajo people. And that's going to be the same thing. If I introduce legislation, why you want on your own office over there? What about us? But as the oversight of RDC, are you gonna look at funding for UUFB, or you want me to, or I can move forward with UUFB funding? But if that moves forth, I really want the committee's support 100% when these legislation gets there. The other is that we can look at ARPA to try to make sure that we can try to get some ARPA money. And that's where we talk to Dr. Shabala. Can we get ARPA money to get a building for this purpose? I believe that Mr. Halona, add-on that the other is the Sleep Plaza. That's going to cost for about $4 million, probably about $6-7 million. That's about it. Ako aja ban tahal ni goko. So aja so office space hollo. Ako either way, we're going to have to obligate some monies to try to get that office, get land department into a certain office. we can do a quick fixer-upper and put them into a existing building with another tribal program. But but you said only for this many months now. Then the other is that if a modular building is being, if I move forward with a modular building, you know, you know, it's worthwhile entertaining with the council, but you know, it will be at the mercy of the council. You guys are just depleting then the other is the $7 million. You know, I wouldn't mind trying to drop that $7 million building and see what happens. And I guarantee you, I will get opposition in council. But our tribal programs in the Western Agency really needs attention. Most of the tribal buildings in Tuba City are in mobile homes that are in the similar state as land department. I guarantee you. Workforce development in Tuba City closed down because of mold. There's nobody going into that building. And there's many tribal buildings that are operating out of trailers there. The bigger, broader plan, there was one question that I posed to or the chapter posed to us, is that, you know, maybe we can work on it you know, like a building where we have one place that we put all the tribal programs in. But you know, what's going to happen? And that's what I told in my chapter. I said, that's a good plan, but I guarantee you I will get opposition at council. I believe on the last council, we proposed 7 one-stop shop deal buildings. And I remember Honorable Leonard Sosi, we house all tribal programs in one building and let's build it out. We have many of the delegates at the time frowned upon that. We're going to end up spending the monies all at once. We really need to look at the Western Agency Office for the land department. The other, when I was at land department, the other scenario was that Kayenta Township had a building that they could lease out to the to Navajo Land Department, and that would shift the land department to Kayenta. It'll stay in Western, but it will shift it to the community at Kayenta. But it didn't go anywhere. So there's options, but they need money. If I can surely have RDC's 100% support on that, I can gladly introduce legislation on one of them, and hopefully that we can all join together and try to get a building. But again, if we get a big building, it's going to take time to build and so forth. In the meantime, where do we operate the land department from? That's how we get the building built. The other is to use the to just purchase a modular building. I think the modular building was about in the $400,000 range, and so that's another quick one that we could do. But right now we have COVID, and the prices are probably higher now, a lot higher. And I can hear, you know, on the floor again. How come the building costs this much now? What they don't need. But I'm glad that the oversight committee is talking about this, and I just made sure that when I got attention of this, I made sure that I talked with the management of Navajo Land Department. You need to address this. Ako ato bishmas an khait bait ta الشداحليه تا بدين نير اي تا شينزاغو Mr. Halona ya hadna huda kek ya huda he provided scenarios, but again you know beso e adulla na ihna. I guarantee you if Halona Mike Halona introduced you know to utilize to buy the dog sleep plaza, it's too much and all this stuff. But again, there's opportunities there. We could house additional tribal programs in there and utilize that for you know charge them a rent so that you know maybe you could hire someone to clean the building, pick up the trash, you know, things like that, so that you know other tribal programs are housed there. And I believe we have, and then one other scenario was when the veterans housing building was going to be built in Tuba City. That was another place to go, and that one required a commitment, and that's still in discussion with the president's office now. I remember talking with Navajo Hopi Land Commission office, because Navajo Hopi Land Commission office was gonna be part of that. Sorry, guys, and gonna be
Honorable So.
Yes, do you hear me?
So. Thank you.
So it oba when senit oba hadishne ni. Thank you.
Yeah, Honorable So, we understand you're from Tuba City on Nishi Auto, Hohot, Higgins Thousand. So, yeah, let me go to Honorable Kiel and Begay Jr. And Honorable Begay.
Chairman, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, proceed.
Okay, I appreciate it. The long-winded situation. My recommendation is what can we do quickly? I guess that's the key thing. We know the situation. We don't need to know what color the building is right now or what's in sight. But the problem that we're seeing is that service is not being provided to our Navajo people. That's the bottom line. And our staff are not being taken care of. That's the bottom line. And us as leaders, we're not really doing anything about it. So that's the bottom line for me. Because it is across the Navajo Nation, every program, they're tucked into some buildings that are just like getting outdated, or they're crammed up. At a lot of these locations across the Navajo Nation. What is the president's office and the division director are planning? 10% is shaved off already. I mean, $180 million. Peso minister but I mean, that's what we've done already. But what end could we ask how much of that funding that we could be able to establish buildings? The Kodonida brother Yahadziki, the one-stop shop Niniki, buildings at each of the 5 agencies, the same floor plan, having as many programs in one place, social service, GA, land department, any other program that's able. I would think that if we band together to really illustrate, I'm sure each of the chapters that we represent, or the agency offices like Shiprock, Crown Point, Chinle, and Tuba City, and 4 Defiance, I mean, there's a guarantee 5 votes right there that their chapter is going to be receiving a new office building. And then the rest of us, dig at yard and linigi, dig at floor plan. What is proper? Major need, need, even the grazing official needs to have an agency office. And then probably, what about the BIA? I'll be sending out an email, a memo to speaker asking for the process of how this new individuals were selected, just for FYI, but that don't happen either. Oh, and he could it. Oh, get that eat. Some of us begin to just be on the defensive side. I'm shying away from that. Because that's how this particular issue came onto the agenda. Without them, that how could we have heard about it? I was informed of the situation before, but I indicated that there's there's delegates from the Western Agency that should be able to take care of it. But it's the same situation that the Chinle area. That's what I know. Koko halet Allah hasned la bahatole to hasned la ikodo babik hakwati nisto tsinso buildings dot as just maybe similar to the administration building, maybe with 3 floors at each agency that would cover, maybe even having BIA be able to occupy that office as well. The ASC will be occupying that office and so on. Maybe if we find that out, and then all of us can, from each of the agencies, just find the land and say that, hey, let's just get this done. I would support that. Is there. But if we truly are going to address the situation at each agency on behalf of our staff, our workers, and then even delivering service to our Navajo people, I would believe that it would be a good cause effort. And if we keep banding together, and even though it may not be favorable across the street, and if we have the vote, we can go into it. The land acquisition funds that are in charge of the base of the bunny so I think there's areas I believe that we could be able to move around to get something. I think somebody's not on to mute the phone. With that chairman, that's all I can say. Let's get this done and let's resolve this. Let's get a new building at each agency. I think as the RDC, we just need to step up, and how much of this funding, just imagine how much funding that we're just carrying over. Could that be able to establish some offices at each of the agency? So this is not just land department issue. This is every overall in that. Everyone, behavioral health, wellness center, I don't know. Let me go back. The focus in securing the land, getting the building in place, and I'm sure it will resolve this whole situation that our Navajo people don't have to driving back and forth and so on, but rather just going to different offices in the building. So what ego building key recommend state of the chairman. So could we make a directive? I don't know after report that's a directive of the chairman. Thank you.
Committee members, this is Thomas Walker. I think the chair dropped off the call. So in the meantime, we can continue the discussion here. Sunanda, thank you for the comments. Delegate Begay, Behensi, Pansake Sole, Koho, Mr. Halona, Nat Shihansi, Ko, Nat Anika, Yahatahasiki. Mr. Halona?
Kehala, Vice Chair Walker. Bayata Tito, Bachita Casey, not Latanate and Hit Ala on Nick. Atale, maybe 10 years ago, Dashin, what facilities inventory, Dashin Yanas, the agencies. Eastern Agency, though, I has on the building at all, a tribal government complex at all, no. They had on the other things not all they are what on what are you in there? Yeah. I've been out of side. So I think it's something that is very important, not only to our department, but all of the departments that are out in the agency offices. And it's they're this way. They're all used to just trying to find a place somewhere and put their stuff in. Don't cut that sheet or that. So it's not permanent. It's not all in one place, and probably save money in the long run if everybody's at one location. Record keeping, internet, all of that, utilities. So go down to the first floor. No, go up to the second floor to the west. So our long range plan is what do we need? How do we increase the services? The home site leasing, because of COVID, we have automated it. So, starting to look at maybe bringing some chapters, and Kayenta Township wants to take over home site leasing, make it more convenient, easier to the local area, and they just put all the information in, and it's done electronically, and the reviews are done, the approvals are done, and was what we're kind of resorting to, and because of COVID, we've been able to operate electronically. Even all those home site leases from Tuba, I signed about 12 yesterday. Like the last page signature, got that they electronically. We sign it, send it back to them. That saves normally probably 2 weeks on time when we used to actually physically sign them. But electronically, pretty much the same day it goes back. So I think what Chiche I think that's the bigger picture, because it's not going to go away. It's just a matter of time when the other offices are facing similar situations. And what the inventory, facility maintenance inventory, insurance, and we're probably paying a lot of money on insurance on some of these buildings that aren't even worth that much. So You know, when's the last time we did the inventory and looked at the buildings and appraised it? What's the real value of them? So I totally agree that it needs to be looked at from a broader sense. And from our side, we will continue to push, and hopefully we'll be able to get with General Services and say we gave a report to RDC, and they want us to get it done right away. So how can we make it happen faster? As we're working on the bigger plan to make it more convenient and better for everybody to have a good place to work, a good place for even clients to come. And yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Halona. Resource Development Committee. I know Delegate Begay, thinking of a directive in the Nakayan sector, so it actually can consider she just about banana session and committee members. Now kitchen when either this la immediately it I think it's what aging better housing pandemic. Ado nahat ahaki I don't know because of the ARPA funding opportunities in each and every community. It's 110 communities. Bansa Kesako. Code Arts Kinsako. It quite bandit. Nigi. It had Ashin not Aki Baliago. Immediate. At Ninigi. Not the deeds. Not quite all. Ashin Bana had all discussion. We can now have either another committee at a future committee meeting like next week. A leadership meeting though Ben Nadish. I hit this Milan Adole by Yatsi and that has the committee meeting the agenda so epic cohort Kevin leadership meeting at the end it beat has the John Handen Adanzao Adoleba Bahatot Zihot called did it and Ado Mr. Halona she I think Behensi immediate Adon Hinant Ado Kodan Ada Skilako Niniki Ado the long range though the permanent solutions certainly were interested in that. Those require investments of resources, time, and that funding. They would be certainly investments. So we're building a nation as we know. That's an additional resource, an additional property and asset that belongs to the nation. So certainly ilahit out and how to teach just pandemic in better hasn't the bahaya neta but ado dikat arpa eso edo in edo which by yata tipan sikis edo this relates to ARPA directly. Relates directly to ARPA. How we use that funding, how we're able to apply that funding, how we're able to address the needs of the Navajo Nation, the community, the people. ARPA. Apati kaya chon iniki yego quite get kaza. Ako ada bono that not so the name de chat or the hito to yashkonda even oyata skinko hat nigi shido hinsnanta just twists on the Tanani le ko ada tatipa na when ido de bonet so da leadership na hinanta president ne so vice president do banda shiki da so da na ta da ya te so ko to na DNR Dr. Shabala ido adon sito abahazan da what Jean those are just some of my comments here this morning relates to the report item. Get also on the Western Dodanik and Delegate Daniels, my good Che from OJ to GD young Kiteti or Tonnes does get a neither. In the western section of the whole entire Navajo Nation, which is a pretty big area. Western Ding of Abe, the Vikasazati, Hinanta, Pedisagi, what so also
Vice Chair.
get Nana.
Vice Chair.
Yes.
Vice Chair, this is Shami. I just want to let you know that I sent an email to both the Utilities and Communication as well as Facility Maintenance Department to give us a status of the work orders that were submitted to them by Navajo Nation Land Department as well as the Office of Navajo Hopi Land Commission. And they are, I received a response and they are going to provide us a written communication. And after they look at their work files, and I also request for a protocol on how we could, they could consider this a high priority. And so I won't be able to give you all of that information until we receive the response from both departments. And as you all know, that those two response departments are under Division of General Services. And so we'll just have to wait and see how quickly we receive those responses. And apparently the office is going to be occupied soon because their office equipments are purchased and secured. And so it's just the utilities and communication and the renovation work that needs to be done. So that takes care of the immediate concerns that you have. And I will follow up again with both departments and share those written response with you all. Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you, Shami. That helps a lot here with what we're looking at. I appreciate the information. Also,
Vice Chair, Che, I was asked to speak to you. Can you place me in the queue, please? This is Freeland. Thank you, Che.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, for the acknowledgement again.
Chairman,
I'm glad that Shami got the information from the Navajo Hopi Land Commission at office and things like that. So, like I indicated earlier, there is dialogue going on from management to those offices so that a temporary solution could be followed or could be found so that the direct services could be rendered out of Western Agency alcohol. Number two, just would like to see if Mike Colonna can get a quote for me for the buildings that needs to be replaced on Navajo. Maybe a quicker, maybe like a modular building. Let's just buy, if Chin Lee needs one, let's include Chin Lee. That way we can buy like 3-4 of them That way, we know that we could. I can drop that legislation, alcohol AD. That way, when the short-term solution, how being housed at Navajo Hopi Land Commission office in Tuba City, that's for the short-term solution. But for the long term, I think, Mr. Halona, the current location of where you're housed, or the current location that's being closed right now, or no, I don't want to say closed, shut down. I don't want to say closed. That has all the sewer and three-phase power connections and water connection. And if I could get a quote from you, Shannon, and this include maybe what Clee Allen Begay spoke about, like in Chin Lee office, if they need a new building, let's do it now. Let me introduce that to that legislation so that let's see what the council say, because like I said, when it gets to the council floor, if Crown Point needs a new building too, add in Crown Point to that, or Shiprock office there across from the 7-11 Aja Land Department, Nahaz Khan there. If they have land somewhere that they could set that unit, let's get those units. And if you could get that for me, I'll go ahead and sponsor that legislation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Honorable. So, Honorable Freeland, Jay, you have the floor.
Thank you, colleagues, Resource Development Committee members, members of 24th Nomination Council and staff. I appreciate this discussion and, just listening in. And I know that these are very important topics, and I can comprehend what Tuba City's office is going through, but you also have to look at what Mr. Halona said. And here in Crown Point, especially, what the land office went through. They went through a flooding situation, and the trailer that they were in ended up with mold. And I want to thank Division Community Development ASC for allowing the land department to be housed in their complex, which is a modular building. That modular building was purchased back when it was back in the old LGSC days, and that was done through, I believe, through the cooperation with the state of New Mexico. So thank you, ACD and ASC, for allowing land department to be housed there temporarily. We face that same situation here in Crown Point, and I want to allude to my home chapter, Crown Point, and thank them for really addressing this and putting this on their CIP. This is something that the chapter has really strongly advocated for, and something that the chapter is really diligently working on. This is number one on their ICIP. We've gone to the state of New Mexico already asking for planning money. They want to build a 2 to 3 story building, kind of a centralized administrative complex to house all the travel programs, because here in Crown Point, all the programs are scattered, and there's already land, there's already infrastructure. We just need to do the planning and design of this complex. But the chapter has really taken this upon themselves to really, set their sights on this initiative. So I want to say thank you to my chapter, President Capitan, Vice President Perry, and Secretary Treasurer Murphy, and our CSC, Mr. Aaron City, and our AMS. I just wanted to mention that chapters have already taken it upon themselves too, especially out here in Eastern. And if Honorable Otto So is going to sponsor legislation for this, I want to make sure that Crown Point's included in this, because we need it just as much as Western, or as much as Chinle, or as much as Fort Defiance, and as much as Northern. We have very unique needs out here too, and I want to make sure that our cut is also applied, should that be rendered. So Area I really want to advocate strongly for our area, Eastern Navajo area. Bad, and our programs need it. Our land department out here needs a building. They need an office space. I feel bad for the staff. I want to thank Miss Willie and her team out here for the land department crew and what they're doing with what they got. So, Eddie, I just want to mention that, Che. Thank you.
Okay, Hakoshi, Honorable Freeland, for your comments. Honorable T. Allen Begay. I'm not okay, maybe you're unmuted now.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we've talked enough about it. I mean, Joe, it seems like we're talking about the situation in each of the agency. Now it's just a matter that we as individuals that we represent from each agency, how do we help get the land? How do we help get the costs? And how do we help, get support on this particular situation? So, I mean, I think that's the direction that we need to go. I mean, it just seems that we're beginning to go round and round on this issue. So, but we don't want to go into that direction that staff will be being targeted and so on. But let's address this issue and move forward, Chairman.
Hey, thank you, Honorable BA. Resource Development Committee members. Committee.
Chairman, Vice Chair, is Auto Cell.
That's actually, yeah, hold on. Resource Development Committee, we're beginning to wrap up this discussion here. Resource Development Committee members. Out of respect and courtesy, Cuba City, either Western,
Yeah, thank you very much, Shanant. Just would like to highlight one thing is that I believe the direct services on the Navajo Nation that's being provided to our Navajo people, there's some direct services that's provided from the local chapter. And when you look at what the Department of Justice indicated is that the chapter, through their legal opinion, the chapters are not part of the three-branch government. Ako oyo anan ahaye katnas nile aja aye ye nasnat yin dadin show. But whose responsibility is it really? And I will tell you, it's the Navajo Nation and the executive branch and the legislative branch. And somewhere we have to find that middle ground to take care of this issue. And the nation has been neglecting our tribal programs in their buildings for years and years. I'm sure what's going on in Tuba City is going on in Chinle, Shiprock, and Fort Defiance, and so forth. Alcohol, but we need to have a deeper conversation as overall throughout the Navajo Nation how we're going to address this. But the mother government of the Navajo Nation is responsible for these buildings, and would like to move forward with those dialogues. And Mr. Halona, again, with the quotes for those buildings, get those bill quotes for me, and I'm willing to run with the legislation and include Honorable Freeland's area if Northern needs it, if Chinle needs it, if Wonder has that new building. So those other four agencies, if they need it, let's include it. That way we can have that facility or those modular buildings legislated, get some monies for them. So yeah, thank you.
Roshi, thank you, Honorable So, for the comments. Ko Chilanta kwe report A Nishit Asalinko. Although I believe there could be a directive made probably after accepting the report. But ela ko tada zubahana natsi ko edida. Although Mr. Halona neto tada zubahana to wrap up this report item. At then we can vote to accept the report. Okay, I'll call for the vote here in accepting the report. How do you vote, Honorable Freeland? Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Stewart votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kell votes green.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Daniels votes green. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
The Honorable Nez votes green. Back to Honorable Mark Freeland. How do you vote, sir? Okay, so that's a vote of 4 in favor. Opposing, there are none. Vice Chair not voting. Motion carries. Directive the Ninakita. The Alan Begay.
Chairman, so we're done with the accepting the report, right?
Yes.
Joe Director Vicky, Kodo, I'm not really sure who will be the appropriate entity. Maybe the division director, or Division of Natural Resource. Jodi Kodo, what will be develop a proposal on behalf of the agency program implementing a new, safer facility to operate programs at the agency level to deliver effective service to our Navajo people. What are that directive but maybe to the president's office that way it will cover the overall divisions across the board, even division community development, division of natural resource, the Department of Transportation, division of health, division of social service. Building liniki dot asliki hit ala ekodo a proposal liki that's recommended or niko kodo be nastatidika. Chairman, I don't know if that would be more effective in making a directive asking for that proposal and the cost estimate. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Begay. Earlier, accepting the report vote, Honorable Freeland voted the text message. Vote green, for the record. So we have a vote of 5 in favor, opposing none, and Vice Chair not voting. So, Adoti, Honorable Begay, your directive, Dita. Let me ask advisor, Mr. Begay, directive, yeah, should be done by motion, yeah. Am I correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I defer that question to Mariana Khan.
Okay, thank you. Office of Legislative Counsel, Ms. Khan, you provide guidance here.
Good morning or good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair. I didn't hear all of the question having to do with the directive. Please restate the question. Thank you very much.
Okay, directive to the divisions, all divisions from the to have them, including the OPVP, having them respond to the committee or leadership with proposals to address these matters like office space, buildings and facilities, to address them, to get costs, to provide costs for replacements or improvements. It was a directive like that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, for that clarification. With regard to directives, a standing committee has authority to issue a directive to a entity for which the standing committee has oversight authority. So with regard to the oversight authority that the RDC has, RDC has oversight authority over the office, over the Division of Natural Resources and all its departments, the Division of Economic Development, Division of Community Development, and the directive, any directive would then be written for those entities for which RDC has oversight authority. In this case, let me take a few minutes to fashion a directive with regard to the divisions and departments that RDC has oversight authority over. Mr. Vice Chair, if you will give me 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, Agoshi, thank you, Ms. Khan, while you're working on the wording of the directive. Resource Development Committee has the oversight over these divisions: Division of Natural Resources, Division of Community Development, Division of Economic Development. Directive. The directive mandate Nikishi out Hadadolni. Facilities, buildings or offices, ATD, Nahoti, given land department, Nahoti, Johota Bajahota, Ebinashi, Koshi Bahasi, Kokayasha, within these divisions, not adding proposal that Resource Development Committee. Ado peso yari bahadawde eben batonish kwaegita peda santa hiton bit ada dod nesiji yar chidon isiki de kuila eda peda has dan jo hodod nito eben nache nahat ashin at edolish benit ido de to den yada na so legislation that ada the door nature ke bakal kidiko hoda yati bande ko sunan ado inan to delegate T. Allen Brigade the hands quit and husband Ashokota just to make sure that your line of thinking, your thoughts are in line with what we're saying here.
Chairman, I'll go with the guidance of the legislative council. What is proper for us as a committee? But like I said, this would be a cooperative effort. If we just only single out a program that will only benefit a sector of the program, we may not get the support at the council level. So a one-stop shop process approach will be more beneficial. So maybe as an overall, what would be proper? Maybe the General Service Department that oversees the overall programs of all the buildings across the Navajo Nation. Maybe they could provide a recommendation what type of a building and the cost estimate that they could provide to the oversight, if not to the council. Chairman.
Agoshi, thank you, Honorable Begay. Back to Office of Legislative Counsel, Ms. Khan.
Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Resources and Development Committee, I was starting to fashion a directive with regard to the divisions for which RDC has oversight. And if I heard, I'm not sure if I heard correctly with regard to Delegate Kealan Begay Jr.'s request to, he said something about a cooperative effort to work with divisions such as the Division of General Services with regard to finding finances for the development of office space for all of to provide services for all of the divisions in the various agencies. If that is how I'm supposed to work on this, or that's supposed to be the subject of this directive, the Division of General Services is not within the authority or oversight of the Resources and Development Committee. I guess there's another way I could write it now. I could direct the enumerated executive directors to coordinate with the Division of General Services director to fashion a plan for office space for all of the various divisions within the agencies. Perhaps it could be fashioned like that for these division directors to work with the Division of General Services executive director with regard to finding office space and coming up with a plan for office space in all the agencies for all of the services that the divisions are to be providing out there in the larger Navajo Nation. Would that work, Mr. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Honorable Alan Begay, question right there. Yeah, question from Ms. Khan.
I mean, to whatever is appropriate, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is get information. If it's feasible that there would be a cooperative effort by the whole Navajo Nation programs to establish a facility under one roof that our Navajo people don't need to go back and forth in different areas at each agency level, that these programs are located under one building. So my directive is that who will be the appropriate program to make a directive to ask for maybe a design and a cost estimate so that we will be able to move forward in submitting a legislation funding request to build this facility. That's my directive, Chairman.
Vice
Okay,
Chair,
Christine.
Vice Chair.
Okay, so Jamie, hold on. Okay, Honorable Brigade. Nanin Siki Ato, let me allow our vice.
Mr. Vice Chair, this is Shami. I just want to let you know that we are under reports, and maybe y'all could consider adding that item under new business as an action item, so we could proceed with the reports, and it would give Mariana more time to research and develop language for the directive action. Mr. Vice Chair. Back to you.
I dropped off the call. Can anyone hear me? That's what it's.
I can hear you.
I can hear it, Chairman.
I believe we lost the vice chair again.
Chairman Naz, are you back in the area where you can proceed as a chairing the meeting?
Shami, let me kind of take over for a while. Once the chair and vice chair gets back on.
Okay.
Committee members, how many do we have online? Making sure that we have a quorum. Mr. Freeland, Mr. Daniel, Mr. Stewart. Bella, who's online?
You have 4 members, Wilson, Mark, Herman Daniels.
I'm here.
Okay. Tukudo directive by now that I'm presiding, I don't know if that would be appropriate to make a directive as chairing the committee on this quack. So we'll leave it at bay for now. Did we did accept the report from Mr. Halona, right?
Pro Tem Chair, yes, we did. We accepted the report. So we could defer that down under new business right before we conclude the meeting. At that time, you could take action on it. And that would allow Mariana to continue to research and work on those languages for you. We could proceed with the next report.
Okay, the next report, let's go ahead and go with that. Nappy, are you still online, Mr. Zeller, or Mr.
Lionel Haskey.
Mr. Haskey, I'm sorry. Nappy,
This
are you
is
guys
Dave
online?
Zeller, Nappy CEO.
Okay, Mr. Zeller, go ahead. You have 20 minutes for your report. I'll be, this is Delegate Kealan. I'll be chairing once the chair or vice chair get back online. Meeting members, for the report.
Thank you, honorable members of RDC. I appreciate the opportunity to present a quick update on the activities going on at NAPI. I'm doing this on behalf of our chairman, Mr. Lawrence Platero, vice chair, Delane Atsidy, secretary treasurer, Peter Deswood III, Dr. Lorenzo Bigay, and also former Navajo Nation Council member Danny Simpson. I prepared a quick set of slides. I hope that you have them in front of you. The first slide obviously shows watermelon harvest. For anyone who's not observed that, it's an interesting experience. I will go into slide 2. We are into harvesting alfalfa, table stock potatoes, pinto beans, jello beans, wheat, feed corn, chilies, organics, etc. We also have value-added products that include flour, cedar ash, the sumac pudding mix, blue corn meal, pancake mix, bags of beans, potatoes, squash, green chilies. We put into production this year 65,895.4 acres. Those crop revenues will be basically reflected in the fiscal 22 financials. Yes, sir.
I apologize for interrupting, but did you forward your presentation to the staff so that they could send it over to the RDC member?
Pro Tem Chair, I did. I sent them this morning along with the agenda and legislation 07521 plus the PowerPoint. You should have it in your email.
Okay, committee members, the slide presentation is in the email. Proceed, Mr. Zeller. Apologize.
No problem, sir. Thank you. That reflects through slide number 2. Slide number 3 mentions that we are now in our third cutting of alfalfa. We have approximately 19,349 acres in alfalfa right now. That product is either under contract to dairies or it is available in the hay storage yard for those who want to come visit. We also have tons of hay set aside for the Colorado ranches and the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture. We started cutting hay grazer on August 3rd. There's 1,810 acres in that. Pinto bean harvest began on August 24th. We have been harvesting organic watermelon since August 25th. That tries to go to the local stores first, and then we fill our national orders. I know that in the past, it has been particularly well received in the Connecticut area for the organic watermelon. We are having labor difficulties in getting that harvest completed. We'll discuss that a bit later. We have already harvested organic squash. Corn harvest will start mid-September, and we will also be picking the native white corn. We also have blue corn and yellow corn in our products that we make available. We were named the outstanding supplier by Whole Foods to give you an idea of the quality of the product that we provide. And I believe that our products are distributed in more than 40 states along with Mexico at this point. I mentioned that we are having labor difficulties, as that's reflected on slide number 4. We have to move people around from various departments to try to help pick the quickly perishable items like squash, watermelon, chilies, etc. That creates problems with the other departments, but we're doing the best we can to accommodate that. But as I mentioned before, it is a problem. As an example, with the watermelon harvest, a load of watermelon is basically worth about $20,000. And that generates a revenue of about $9,800 per acre. We are behind on that. We're looking at possibly, if we can't get that production sped up, we might be looking at a loss in potential revenue of $45,000 to $60,000 on the watermelon project alone. The squash also had a labor shortage. That hasn't been able to be addressed either, because a lot of that staff then went right over into the melon harvest. We have been advertising diligently and thoroughly. Radio, local newspapers. We put in a new applicant tracking system to make it easier online even. But we are having problems finding laborers. I should mention that it is not just in the pickers for like produce, but we have a shortage of engineers, electricians, welders, CDL drivers. All of those are in short supply here at NAPI right now. We're also, unfortunately, due to a lot of the COVID problems, repairs that we had planned to different facilities, there were difficulties in getting the parts. There has been difficulty then when they got assembled and then getting the trucking arranged to get them at NAPI and to get the replacements done. But we're working at that diligently. We're also facing a tremendous increase in our fertilizer prices. Some products have almost doubled. And as one would expect, growing product here on the desert on top of the mesa, if that crop takes it out of the ground, we have to replace it, and that has to be done via fertilizer. We also suffered a dilemma earlier when our new stand of alfalfa, they actually had a quick little frost and then the drought stress over the months. So that has hindered us in that area as well. On slide 5, ever present in our minds is the concern about the water availability. As you can see by the graph, that here in the month of September, we are in good shape. At the bottom, you'll see a dotted red line that indicates a very big problem as far as water release from the lake. That's at about 59.90, I believe, and we're probably sitting at about 60.30 right now. So we're in good shape there. There are projections made out to the right-hand side on that graph, which shows most likely a best possible, and then of course a poor situation as it results from the snowfall as it runs down into Navajo Lake from the Colorado mountains. But we are in good shape at this point. We expect to be in good shape through this time next year with regard to where we're at on the lake. We are certainly not trying to waste any water, but we do keep our eye and try to monitor every drop that we apply. If you go to slide 6, it shows a graph of our human resource report provided by Beulah John. It shows that right now we have 294 employees, 285 of them are Navajo. That makes a 97% rate for the Navajos. I would also point out that yes, we are low, as it shows in those graphs at the bottom. We do need more employees, as we discussed earlier, especially with the watermelon harvest going on now. The manpower makeup at NAPI is fully 1/3 female, and quite frankly, most of the upper level management jobs are held by females at NAPI. That includes CFO, COO, safety, security, quality control, agronomy, the corn crop, farm support. I probably left somebody out, but it is a female-dominated upper-level management staff here at NAPI. If we go to slide 7, We have used the projected financials for 2022 to make available to you. We did make it through 2021. Our fiscal year ended May 31st. We had a clean audit, which was very satisfying to us, especially where we installed 2 new software programs, and then we're shelving an older program at the same time. We're all very happy, and I want to congratulate the finance and accounting staff on doing such a good job there in that transition. As it shows the financial predictions that we have, we hope to show a net profit next year of $4 million before the dividend that we would pay to the Navajo Nation, as we normally do. I do remind everybody that, you know, I heard in the previous discussion they were talking about the age of the facilities, etc. NAPI was put together in the 70s. We have an infrastructure that is that old in the water system that supplies that valuable water to this mesa up here. But I want to point out something else while we're discussing the financials, and that is right now the proposed legislation 0111-21. It would have an incredibly negative effect on NAPI's financial performance. It would render NAPI no longer being a profitable company. It would preclude us then making dividend payments to the Navajo Nation as well. It's really disturbing that it is being discussed. I know that the most recent board meeting, it was unanimously voted on by the members present to issue a resolution requesting that a no vote in the current manner in which that legislation is being proposed, that be put forth to Navajo Nation Council members, in that it would, again, create a system that would reduce NAPI's possibility for profitability, in that it would apply a agricultural sales tax, which NAPI has been exempt from the beginning. That is of concern not just for the profitability of the company, but also for the concern of those almost 300 employees that we have here right now, coming from the Upper Fruitland and San Juan, Shiprock, Burnham, Crown Point, Herfano areas. You know, it is a problem. If we are not able to be profitable, we are not able to, not just the dividend issue, but also provide the profit sharing we have to employees, which they very much count on in their lives. It would also create a concern here about whether we need to restructure the way NAPI does business. You are probably looking at products that right now are being supported, and by that I mean the native foods products that are being supported by the profitable branches of the company. They probably would not be able to be dealt with anymore. A sales tax as proposed now would push probably 9, if not more, of our products into a negative position, in which case we would have to rethink whether we would grow those crops or not. And then, of course, if that comes to be, then we have to be concerned about, do we lose control of that water that is owned by the Navajo Nation, and if we are not able to justify the use of it through the crop programs. I know that you wanted me to limit my time. I have a tendency to ramble on. I went through this a little fast, but I wanted to assure you that at present time, NAPI is doing well. I know there's a resolution being prepared right now to put forth a dividend back to Navajo Nation. from the NAPI board. We are looking at what the future of NAPI could be like if we are subjected to that tax, so that we can be prepared. But again, NAPI is doing well. Actually, today, most employees are enjoying a slight drizzle that we have had this morning. So operations in the field have stopped right now for safety purposes. But, you know, we are looking forward to the future. But it is going to be determined by two things. One, again, is, as always, the infrastructure supporting the water to this facility, and then the future that Navajo Nation Council lays out for us regarding the taxation. I know that was brief and quick, but I'm sure that's what you were wanting. Is there any questions I could answer or any concerns anyone has at this point?
Mr. Zeller, you do have about 5 minutes left. Maybe if the administration or the board have a few statement to make. Mr. Zeller?
I don't know that that's really necessary. They've relied on me to get the point to RDC, the Oversight Committee. I think the resolution to support a no vote by all people on that legislation as it's currently stated is obvious. The fact that Navajo Ag Products Board wants to pay a dividend again, that's forthcoming, is obvious of their desire to make this thing go. I just want to make sure that everyone here has a chance to ask any questions if they have any concerns about what is going on at NAPI right now.
Okay, with that, committee members, Kadoshi, before we ask any question, I would ask for a motion and a second to accept the report. Committee members.
Motion, Daniel.
Delegate Herman Daniel, motions. Khilebe Ken Noyado, the second. Committee members.
Mr. Pro Tem Chair, you only have 3 members on the call now. I don't see Mark, Chairman Naz, or Thomas on the call, just for your information.
Okay. So let me see. From NAPI, the overall, the presentation, their operation, I'm not sure if we could just go ahead and go. We can't even recess, right? Without having a quorum. Let's wait a minute for now. Maybe if you have additional information, Mr. Zeller, you have about maybe 3 minutes left.
Certainly, I can ramble on forever, but I don't want to waste anyone's time because I know how valuable it is for each of you.
We're just trying to make sure that we have enough committee members on the line for quorum.
I understand that. Again, I think that this is representative that NAPI is doing well. As you probably all know, the products here are of the utmost quality. That's been recognized in our distribution efforts. As I mentioned before, Whole Foods naming us as an outstanding supplier. Certainly, we have no problem in marketing our corn, our wheat, our beans, and our alfalfa. We try very carefully to make sure that that's rationed out through the entire crop year so that we don't run out of products that we do have available. We are facing, again, To recap, a labor shortage, particularly on the products that have to be hand-picked. Things like watermelon, squash, chilies, the sumac, corn pollen, most of which are what we deem as native foods here at NAPI. The labor-intensive foods, they are a problem, and they're the least profitable of the crops we raise. But we feel that that is a necessity, you know, in our job to provide food and forage to the tribal members here.
Okay, Mr. Zell, appreciate. Vice Chair, Brother, you're back online, right?
Delegate
Vice Chair,
DJ.
yes.
Hi,
Who's
this is Alicia Chi, Delegate Walker's LDA. I'm trying to get him merged in on my line. He's having difficulties, and I think it's the location he's at. So I am trying to merge him in on my line. I'll try one more time. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Committee members, who's all online right now? Committee members, let me know.
Daniel.
Mr. Daniel, Delegate Daniel, and Brother Mr. Stewart Chow. Brother Freeland?
His call is on we show his call on the line.
Okay.
Brother T. Allen.
Yes.
Thomas Walker, I'm back on the call. Just got back on.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with our phone
Okay.
service out here. So,
all right.
Go ahead, proceed.
We just completed the report from NAPI, brother, but we still need one more to be online to make a quorum.
Okay.
Delegate Daniel, myself and yourself, that we're online right now. So I'll go ahead and give the virtual gavel back to you, Vice Chair.
Okay. Agushin, in the area that I'm at, we received a lot of rain. Although there's flash flood warnings going on again. We anticipate some more showers. That may affect our phone service here. Been out for last 20 minutes or so. I can't apologize for technical difficulties. But anyhow, so advisor, what did you advise the committee? There's only 3 members here. Maybe we don't have a quorum, but
Mr. Chair and Vice Chair, Vice Chair and Pro Tem Chair, if there's no quorum, then you could just call the meeting for a lack of quorum. But we've been trying to get them to answer the call to see how many were on the call to accept the report for NAPI, but thus far, yourself, Key Allen, and Herman Daniels answers the call. So that will be your call to do that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Hakoshi. Tahi can give us a roll call. Let's start with that. See who all responds, either by text or by voice. Tahi.
Delegate Rick Nez is back on the call.
Must have been doing what he did yesterday.
Probably he's traveling too.
Mr. Pro Tem Chair, Vice Chair, I'll do a roll call just to reestablish quorum for the meeting so that we can proceed with them. Okay, roll call.
Go ahead.
Roll call. Ricky Nez.
Delegate Rick Nez is present.
Thomas Walker Jr.
I'm present.
Key Allen Begay Jr.
Delegate Key Allen's present.
Herman M. Daniels.
Here.
Mark Freeland. Mark A. Freeland. Wilson Stewart Jr. Wilson Stewart Jr. Mr. Vice Chair, you have 4 members that answered roll call. You do still have a quorum. And I believe we're at a point where we just need to accept the NAPI report.
Okay, Akweshin, thank you, Mr. Gay. So, motion that to accept the report. Is there a motion?
Shema, I'm
There's been a
here. It's
motion
just my
made.
service is real choppy.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Stewart, for joining us again. Is there a motion? Has there been a motion made to accept the report, committee members?
Well, Chair, a motion has been made by Herman Daniels on the report. We need a second.
Okay, Akweshin, thank you for that. To accept the report, there must be a second also, so I'm going to call for a second motion. Seconding the motion.
Delegate Rick Nez, seconds.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Nez, for that. Took a motion made by Herman Daniels, second offered by Honorable Nez. Committee members, so this is to accept the report. Questions, Shatnana, comments?
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair,
report?
this is Daniels.
Yes, Honorable Daniels.
Very quickly, without I do not appreciate the report from NAPI, Mr. Zeller, Mr. Haskey, I know
Honorable Daniels? I can't hear you. Can
Honorable
anyone hear
Vice
me?
Chair, I think Honorable Daniels' phone is cutting in and out as well.
Okay, Ishtahi, we'll pull his question or his comments in abeyance here. Committee members, any other questions, comments for the report?
Vice Chair Walker, Delegate Rick Nez, request to speak, sir.
Yes, Chairman Nez, you have the floor.
Thank you. The report provided by Mr. Zeller and the operations at NAPI, I just would like to let the committee know that we're also the oversight over our enterprise and its operation. There's a legislation that was probably mentioned, 111-21, that needs to have an amendment to it when it comes before council. If we don't have an amendment, the taxes that are going to be raised on agriculture as far as NAPI is concerned is going to really hurt their business, as well as the Navajo employees that work there. And we just need to be mindful of that and keep our support for our enterprise. They never come before council asking for money. They always do their best to provide funding, and they really did assist a lot with COVID-19 as well. So, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mr. Vice Chair,
Honorable Daniels, you were in the middle of your comments or your questions there. So I'll give you the floor at this time, Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Vice Chair, thank you very much. A lot of our people, they go to NAPI to get hay, and they pull these utility trailers. Some they pull these gooseneck trailers to get those big bales. And when they go back out, when they get it back on the scales, when they leave, I've noticed that some of these vehicles, some of these trailers, they need air in their tire. Is there a way NAPI can provide, or maybe it's like have a air at the facility, around the facility somewhere, maybe next to the porta potties? Yeah, this is a quick question, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you very much to Mr. Zeller. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Question to NAPI, Mr. Zeller.
I will check into it with the Region 2 Scales Manager. Off the top of my head, I would wonder if it would be a possibility that maybe one of the support vehicles that we use would have an air compressor on it, perhaps, that we could divert there. I'll just have to look into it. I don't think that that's an outrageous request by any means.
Okay, thank you for the response. Zeller, Mr. Honorable Daniels, you have another follow-up question there or comment?
Mr. Vice Chair, that was it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Daniels. Any other questions or comments for NAPI committee members? Questions, comments, Resource Development Committee. Going once, twice. Okay, Hakoshi, no other questions, comments at this time. I will call for the vote to accept the report. Calling for the votes. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart votes green via text. Honorable Keelan Begay, how do you vote?
Vice Chair Keelan votes green.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Daniels votes green. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Chairman Nez votes green. Going back up, Honorable Mark Freeland, how do you vote, sir? Okay, we have a vote of 4. In favor, opposing, there are none. Vice Chairman not voting here. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, NAPI, Mr. Zeller, Mr. Haskey, for the report to the RDC. Okay. Nasnana, no business. Ms. Begay?
Mr. Vice Chair, I revised the agenda and I had sent that out to you. We had added the number C, update report on the Navajo Gallup water supply project funding shortfall, and that's supposed to be done by Speaker Damon. I don't know if they're ready to do the presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon, Shammy. The Speaker Damon, I'm on the line. I've been here.
Okay. Mr. Chair.
Okay, item C, under reports, the update on shortfall funding for the Navajo Gallup water supply project. And we have an honorable speaker to provide that report. Mr. Speaker, this is Vice Chair Thomas Walker. So we'll give you the floor to give that report to the committee. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Walker. I know that the committee, we've been listening in relatively all morning. Yeah, I don't know if the committee would like to defer this report to the next meeting. I know that you have numerous members at different locations. I would take your recommendation, Vice Chair, or unless if you would like us to continue to move forward.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. Committee members, so Speaker has a question on whether to provide the report today or to go on to the next meeting. So what is your wish, committee members?
Shaja, Vice Chair.
Honorable Stewart, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is Speaker Damon, committee members and Glenigi for RDC, Shana Kedo, Shamayaj Kedado, Mr. Tyler. This report, maybe we can just go ahead and wait till our next meeting. That's in the our Asian Zondol, at that time. I could recommend this list, Shaja.
Vice Chair. Vice
Committee
Chair,
members, hold on, Shami. Hold on. Honorable Stewart, to defer this item to the next meeting. Just to clarify that. Mr. Gay.
Mr. Vice Chair and Honorable Speaker Damon, the next meeting would be until September 15th. If you would put that on your calendar, I will also do that over here. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Hakushin. Committee members, any other comments on that? Any other recommendations? So advisor though, Ms. Khan, legal counsel, either deferred now from the chair or motion advisor and legal counsel.
Mr. Chair, you can just, at the request of the speaker, just go ahead and defer the meeting. But before we move on, I just want to ask the speaker who we need to contact from the committee level to ensure that all of your agents are present. I know Bureau of Reclamation was on the line with us. I will assist in helping you get the agents and the people to the table, Mr. Speaker. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gay. Question to you, Mr. Speaker. Which parties, which individuals, which offices, agencies, departments could we contact to assist you in giving the report? Speaker.
Vice Chair, this is Melinda.
Yes. Mayaja.
Thank you, Vice Chair, members of RDC. I don't believe we'll need any agents for this report on behalf of Speaker. I think we have the information that we need. We would just need some time to have a discussion with the Resources and Development Committee when we are able to have that opportunity at the next meeting, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Arviso Siako, for that information. Joe Hatela, Dishindo defer Eliado Lectida to the next meeting. So that being the case, then we move on to the next item, He did new business. Ms. Begay.
That is correct, Chairman. This is just going to be a preliminary discussion, and I really want to make sure that I'm getting the recommendation from Resource and Development Committee before we move forward. That's why I wanted to present. So it's relatively something to in an ask from RDC and moving forward. So I thank Shammy for trying to collaborate, but I do believe that Jason Chan would be the only individual that would be on the line with us, and Ms. Siako is correct. Other than that, it would just be ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you, Speaker. Hakoshi. What is Nasan or new business? Ms. Begay.
Mr. Chair, I believe legislation 01721 was deferred at the request of the sponsor, Mark Freeland. So you're now down to item B. Back to you, Vice Chair.
Okay, Hakoshi. So what is item B? Approving to reschedule the 2-day work session with DCD, ASC, OAG, and OOC, DOJ, and ONGD to further discuss the chapter official stipend, restricted funds, and other issues at Twin Arrows, Arizona, AQUAG, and then there's a line, fill in the blank. Any recommended dates? Shammy, advisor?
Mr. Chair and members of the Resource Development Committee, this particular request came out of our recent discussion with BFC on how to address the chapter stipend. And there was a request for a work session, 2-day work session. The only time that we have 2 days available is in October. For now, out of our September calendar, we only have September 28th available. Unless you do September 30th and October 1st. That's the earliest.
Committee members, September 30th, October 1st. That's the next opportune. Those are the next opportune times to have the 2-day work session. So what at the negotiation motion is in order and a second. Committee members?
Shaja?
Yes, Honorable Stewart.
Oh, not the non-Shaja committee members. Shania Cap, Auto, Shamayaji, Ms. Begay, Kodobe, Heinzi, Asian by motion and district Shaja. Shamananita the 30th and the 1st. If you can actually that date list for that 2-day work session.
Okay. Honorable Stewart.
Second by Delegate Rick Nez.
And then there's a second by Honorable Nez. Questions on this? Questions, comments on those 2 dates, September 30, October 1st, to have the 2-day work session. Chapter stipends. Well, not the detail. Twin Arrows. What question on committee members, comments, questions? I will call for the vote. Honorable Mark Friedland, how do you vote?
Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Stewart votes green. Honorable Kealan Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kell votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote? Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
The chairman Nez votes green. Going back up, Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Daniels, how do you vote? We have a vote of 3 in favor. Opposing, there are none. And Vice Chair not voting. That motion carries. She advisor do Mr. Tahi she nakayenad ni sto dektida. Ede what elako. Next item. Moving on to the number 8, close a meeting. Announcements. Are there any announcements? Meeting members, advisor.
Mr. Pro Tem, Vice Chair?
Yes.
We need to go back to the directive that Delegate Kealan Begay was requesting. I'm not sure if Mariana is now ready with the language to proceed with the directive.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Ms. Khan, are you ready with the directive?
Mr. Vice Chair, I've just completed it and I will send it to all members and the staff. Just a second. Let me get it sent. Thank you very much. Let me do this.
Mariana, it would also be helpful if you could just read it into the record because we are having internet issues and we've been trying to send stuff out and it's not reaching their destination.
This is Mariana Khan again. Yes, I will read it out and I will press the button to send right now to all of those who have access to the internet. Just a second. Mr. Vice Chair and members of the RDC, I have just sent the directive. It should be landing in your boxes and I will be ready to read it into the record as soon as you give me the go. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Khan, looks like I received the email from yourself on the directive. I would go ahead and proceed reading the directive. Khan.
Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Resources and Development and listening audience, this is written in the form of a memorandum. Memorandum to Dr. Rudy Shabala, Executive Director, Division of Natural Resources. Dr. Pearl Yellowman, Executive Director, Division of Community Development. Mr. J.T. Willie, Executive Director, Division of Economic Development. Mr. Garrett Silversmith, Executive Director, Division of Transportation. Ms. Valinda Shirley, Executive Director, Navajo Environmental Protection Agency. From Honorable Rick Nez, or this could be Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Walker, since you are the individual who is chairing this meeting. It is up to you, okay? From the Resources and Development Committee, date September 1, 2021. Subject, directive to the executive directors of the Division of Natural Resources, Division of Community Development, Division of Economic Development, Division of Transportation, Navajo Environmental Protection Agency to provide a plan for office space in all 5 agencies. It has come to the attention through reports given to the Resources and Development Committee that Navajo Nation divisions under the oversight of the Resources and Development Committee, that the Navajo Nation divisions do not have office space, inadequate office space, or unsafe office space in the 5 agencies. With that understanding, the Resources and Development Committee sees a need for a coordinated effort by the Navajo Nation's division executive directors to develop plans for the construction of office buildings in all 5 agencies to bring the Navajo Nation division's services to the Navajo people. The Resources and Development Committee envisions an office building in each agency that would house all Navajo Nation divisions under one roof. The planning for such facilities will require the involvement of a number of programs, including the Office of the President and Vice President, the Office of the Controller, and the Division of General Services. Issues to consider are identification of sites for the buildings, design and cost estimates, funding possibilities, and other issues related to construction of office buildings in each of the 5 agencies with the capacity to provide office space for the divisions of the Navajo Nation. With that understanding, the Resources and Development Committee hereby directs the executive directors of the Division of Natural Resources, Division of Community Development, Division of Economic Development, Division of Transportation, and the Environmental Protection Agency to coordinate with the Office of the President and Vice President, the Office of the Controller, and the Division of General Services to provide a plan for the construction of office space in each of the 5 agencies. The division executive directors are to provide their first report to the Resources and Development Committee during the month of October 2021. This directive was passed by the Resources and Development Committee at its regular meeting held on September 1, 2021. That's the conclusion of this memo, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Resources and Development Committee. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Ms. Khan, for putting together the language for the directive for the committee based on the discussions, questions, and that earlier during the first report of our agenda. Committee members, so I think he wants to motion to approve the directive, and I will recognize that he texted that, so I'll recognize that. Motion made by Honorable T. Allen Begay to approve the directive as put forth, as read by Ms. Khan here. Committee members, second, is there a second to this?
Second, Stewart.
Okay, Honorable Wilson Stewart offers that second. Any other discussion, questions, comments on the directive? If not, then I can call for the vote. Approve the directive. Honorable Mark Freeland, how do you vote? Okay, Honorable Wilson Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Key Allen votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Herman Daniels, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniel votes green. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Okay, Honorable Nez votes green. Going back up, Honorable Mark Freeland, how do you vote, sir? Okay, so we have a vote of 4 in favor, opposing, none, Vice Chair not voting. Motion carries.
Mr.
Back to the number 8.
Mr. Vice Chair, Mr.
okay,
Vice Chair,
yes,
Mrs.
Ms.
Mariana
Khan?
Khan. May I suggest that at the bottom of the second page that we add Xerox copies XCs to certain individuals, and that would be to the speaker, Mr. Seth Damon, to the office of the president and vice president, to the Navajo Nation Council delegates, and to Chief Legislative Counsel, Ms. Dana Barbara. If it would be, I would like to add that just to the bottom, just to show that this information is getting out and who the information is getting to. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you. So that would be noted. Shananta, you are all in agreement with that. Any comments to that? If not, then we'll proceed with the courtesy copies with the list mentioned here. The directive. So we will have that CC the parties you mentioned, Ms. Khan. There'll be no objections here. Item 8, close a meeting. Announcements, Mr. Gay, Mr. Tahi.
Motion to adjourn.
not
Delegate Rick Nez.
Mr. Vice Chair, I will update the calendar and we'll send it out.
Okay, all right. Before I recognize the motion to adjourn, Mr. Tahi, any other announcements?
Honorable Vice Chair, no, I don't have no announcements.
Okay, committee members, any other announcements? Thank you. Then you will recognize the motion to adjourn this meeting. Honorable Chair Nez offers that motion. Is there a second?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, seconds. Questions, comments? Not, we can take a vote. Honorable Mark Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Delegate Key Allen votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Daniel votes green. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Recknez votes green.
Honorable Nez votes green. Question, we have a vote of 4 in favor. Opposing or none. Vice Chairman not voting. Motion carries. Question. We are adjourned here. Time is 1:27 p.m. Thank you, committee members. Thank you, staff, Ms. Begay, Mr. Tahi, Ms. Khan, Office of Speaker, and the listeners, the audience that we have today. Holiday, just Labor Day, Monday. So everyone be safe this weekend. Enjoy the holidays. Holiday weekend, 3-day weekend. Off the call here. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Vice Chair Walker, for facilitating the meeting. Thank you.
Be safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you.